Welcome to what maybe the second or maybe the third video in the series. In very sort of George Lucas style, I might be messing with the chronology. We've been talking, well, I've mentioned in the introduction, which I recommend you watch if you haven't already, that the first few videos in the How to Be a More Respectful Employer series will focus on language. And today I want to tell you a little bit of the story of how I came to realise the importance of language and the importance of showing respect through language. So I was chatting to a friend yesterday and telling her how much I hate how tall I am. And halfway through telling her this, I started laughing at myself and saying, what? Do I think that if I say it enough I'll shrink? Like, it's not, you can't change that. And the reason I'm telling you about that is that the first few years of my business I felt very conflicted. I knew who I was, I knew what I wanted to say, and I knew what I didn't want to say. And I was under a lot of pressure to fit the narrative of our business into an existing narrative, which we're all very well aware of and which I'll talk about some more. One of the things that made me most aware of that existing narrative and the pressure to comply with it was when I worked for an organisation developing beadwork before I started Beloved Beadwork, that worked with a group of people who were vulnerable in a particular way. And this vulnerability, this chronic illness, was spoken about at length. In fact, you weren't allowed to be part of the organisation unless you had it. So it was really a very defining part of the work that was being done. If you're well paid, you have a lot of skills and you truly have a choice about where you work, that's great, that's fine, that's advocacy that you want to engage in. For a lot of the people in that organisation, they didn't have that kind of power and choice. And so one day I witnessed, whilst I was sorting through beads, as I tend to be, a conversation between a journalism student who'd come to do some volunteer work at the organisation and the person in charge of the income generation part of that organisation. And she came in and said, having been chatting with the people who made the product that was sold, nobody wants to talk to me. She was supposed to be making small sort of stories about those people's experiences and therefore why people should buy the product they make. And she kept coming in and saying, no one wants to talk to me. And the person in charge kept saying, well, they have to. Just tell them they have to. They're not going to sell unless they talk about it. And the thing that he wanted them to talk about was some of the most painful and private information in someone's life because it sells product. And I remember being there that day thinking, wow, I never want to force people to talk about something like that they don't want to talk about. It's like someone saying to me, oh, you should talk about your breast cancer more, then you'll sell more beadwork. What? Why would you? Wow. Some things are private, and people who want to share those things are brilliant and brave and advocates and work really hard, and other people don't want to share those things. And what I find very problematic in our industry is when people are expected to share those things as part of their job. So there might be particular vulnerabilities, illnesses, circumstances that people live in, which the employer considers themselves to be good because they're helping those people in those circumstances, and they want to advertise that fact in order to sell more product. It's normal in our industry. And that's why I say that I spend a lot of years feeling under incredible pressure to just fit into that narrative, to tell those stories, regardless of the feelings of my colleagues, my staff, because that would sell more product in a sort of utilitarian, the ends justify the means sort of a way. And I refused and refused and refused. And over time, that decision has felt more and more right and more clear. I am now at a point where it's fine. It's fine. I feel so happy that we made that choice. And we made that choice in the beginning. And the way we made that choice was collectively as a group of people. It was made very clear to everybody that their employment was not contingent on what they were willing to say about their personal circumstances. It's really important that that's an explicit part of a contract. It's also an explicit part of our contract, which is something we workshop together, which is words that can and cannot be used about you. Particular people will have particular words that they really hate being associated with them. For me, it's cancer survivor, or having fought with cancer. Those battle narratives, I hate them. And people try to use them about me all the time. And so there were labels that my colleagues, that my staff faced, that they really didn't want used about them in a work context. And we went through, workshopped them, and came up with a list. And that list informed part of our contract, and it informed the notes that we give out when we do publicity work. So when people are writing articles about us, when we're going to do some TV work, we'll just send this one page that says, please don't say these things about the people who work within our company. And it works really well. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And it's very easy to get defensive and upset when we start to realise that words we've been using about people are offensive to those people or are painful to those people. And I say that having done that 1,000 times. That this isn't an easy thing to explore, it's not an easy thing to work through. But I would really encourage you within your organisation, within your business, to just sit back and say, how are we talking about one another in this organisation? How are we presenting the people in this organisation to the outside world? And is that honouring those people's dignity? Okay, that's my message for today. Have a lovely day. Try not to get sunburned like I did yesterday. Bye!